Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's matchup between Kasa Esports and Extinction for the FACEIT. And with me again is the one and only Zav. Hi, Zav.
Hi, Nick. How you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are we? Ready for another
Uh,
great matchup?
yep. Looking forward to another exciting week of games. We've got today, like you said, Kasa Esports going up against Extinction. Both teams coming off a bit of a rocky start through it. A little back and forth. Extinction,
Hmm.
they had a little bit, 0-3 rough go up against. I'm not sure which team it was that they fought recently, but they went down 0-3, but they managed to bounce back against another team and go 3-0. So they're a little bit of an up and down. It's been a complete
Hmm.
one way or another for them. They haven't had any hard contested matches that wasn't either them being swept or them sweeping. And Casa is coming off of a tough loss against Nightmare. So it should be an interesting game for these two teams.
Yeah, and just before we get into the minutiae of this great storyline that we're going to have tonight, just a couple of little tidbits, a couple of little shout outs. For those of you who may not know, the one of the players for Casa Esports, Sunnyside, celebrated their birthday on Sunday. So
Woo woo.
a little belated birthday. A happy birthday to you, Sunny, if you get to see this later on, which you better do. But happy birthday for Sunday. Many happy returns. And let's hopefully celebrate for you with a win. Now, coming into this matchup, as you mentioned, coming off a tough loss against Nightmare Gaming that we casted not too long ago. So, if you're caster here, what are you looking for in this series to kind of level you back and get you back to an even state and an even mental state after quite a difficult and crushing defeat?
Well, I don't think the result from their matchup against Nightmare should play too much on their minds. Nightmare was a team that is formerly known for having a very strong roster from OWCS. So it is a
Hmm.
very lot of high level, high caliber players, and they were competitive through that match, so they should feel good about it. But you're looking to have a very strong showing throughout this match, even if it's not, a 3-0 sweep here against Extinction. They want to have, definitely a definitive, decisive win. They probably don't want it to go to a full on best of five, especially if this team has yet to show that they can, take a match to a best of five either, coming off of an 0-3 and then going into a 3-0 against what would be considered a weaker team that they 3-0'd against. So,
Yeah.
they definitely want to have a definitive win. They can probably tolerate, dropping a round, but you definitely don't want this to go to a full on best of five overall.
Yeah, and I think a bit of the storyline here for Casa is, they faced some really tough opponents early on, in this group stages. So while they may be 1 win, 2 losses, after 3 games, which in their mind might be playing a little bit of, mental gymnastics for them, they have played against some of the top teams expected. So this is kind of, I think, a stabilizing series for them. If they can come out, give us a good showing, show that they can kind of play with the best of them, they can come off a loss like that, show their gameplay, how they want to play, and come out on top. I think it puts them in good stead for the remainder of this Face It League.
Absolutely. And it's not like Casa is making a lot of mistakes or doing things wrong necessarily. It's
Mm.
just, in comparison last week against Nightmare, Nightmare just has that high level of experience, that high level of just caliber gameplay of working together and just execution and being in those high pressure scenarios and that allow them to be able to really execute on, securing those wins as definitively as they did.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we start to look into the games here in this series we've got today versus Extinction, what are you looking for particularly between these two teams? What do you think the showdown is going to be in the different play styles and strategies that we're going to see from these two?
Well, I think from Casa, we know that they've been working on trying to practice some other tanks in order to have a different, face a different showing for their different matchups. They've been consistently running a lot of the same DPS though on that Sojourn. I think Sojourn is just a character
Yeah.
that we are going to see from both teams consistently, no matter what. It's just such a powerful hero, very high damage, and brings good mobility at the same time, and just the ability to instantaneously obliterate somebody and take them out of the equation of a fight, even without ults being in the equation. So, really, we're looking at trying to see different showings of different tanks. And I know that they've been working on that Ramatra, but I think we're going to
Yeah.
just consistently see Kasa falling back to that Zarya. That is when they have had their best performance every time. There have been a few moments where Axer has really been able to shine on that Junker Queen, but a lot of the time ends
Yes.
up being forced off of it back onto the Zarya in order to stabilize things out. I think the Junker Queen really works out for them when they're able to get into a high momentum state of play and really put a lot of consistent pressure onto the other team, and they're able to just kind of run through with it in that scenario. But if there is a high contention of the match, we're going to see them falling back onto that Zarya a lot, I think, because it just brings a lot of stability and consistency to the play.
Yeah, and I like the word stability there because I think that is the name of the game today, isn't it? It's stability versus chaos, really, is going to be the story of these two teams. Extinction have a couple of subs as well that they can like sub in and play around with to kind of shake up the roster a little bit. They're known for this very kind of put you on your back heels, chaotic kind of gameplay and forcing you to play into their way of playing rather than you playing your own game. And I think for Kasa, they're going to be looking to really stabilize here, play the way that they want to play, show that they're not going to get drawn into this very chaotic style of Overwatch. They're going to stay true to what they know and believe in themselves and see which one comes out on top uh, today. Uh, and definitely in terms of support picks, what do you think? Are we going to see any variety in support picks away from this very deadly Lucio Kiri combo? Are we going to see any fun, maybe Wu Zhang's thrown in there or anything that you might expect as a little curveball?
Well, we did get to see a bit of Wu Yang last week up against Nightmare, but that might have been Nightmare, taking into account that they had, a much more stronger showing up against Kasa, and that they were maybe able to be a little more aggressive with their support
Mm,
picks. Lucio Kiriko is going to be that consistent support option. A lot of movement and just being able to provide your team engagement ability through that move speed to be able to get onto points quickly and have engagements
yeah.
quickly is it's very strong utility to give up in exchange for what another support might offer. But we I would like to see some different things moved into play, but sometimes it's
Mm.
just not how things go with metas overall. We haven't
Who would you like
seen.
to see if you got a choice? Of any hero, who would you like? Any support hero that we haven't really had a chance to talk about a lot because they're just not being played.
I'd like to see
Obviously
an
not
Ana.
meta. Mm, okay. Uh, I mean, I don't know if you tried. I think we talked about this before. I don't know if you got a chance to try Vendetta, the new hero. But let me tell you, I got ruined by Ana players try to play that hero. Just the sleep into the anti-heal was so strong, but it is quite hard to justify, especially with such high mobility picks happening right now with Lucio and Kiri. I mean, you're just kind of a sitting duck on Ana, aren't you? So it's quite hard to find a place for her.
Well, not only that, but the hit scan that we see from the backlines, the distance, you're going to be very aggressively dove on maybe by a
Mm,
tracer, but then you also have the range pressure of maybe a Cassidy or the Sojourn. And so Anna tends to not fit into that equation very much. But like you're talking about with Vendetta, one of the things that Anna does excel with is being able to prevent some of those more aggressive dive champions, which while Tracer might kind of fit that bill, Tracer's a bit more slippery and kind of just,
Yeah.
blinks around a lot and rewinds, and it's a bit more difficult for an Ana to sleep a Tracer than it might be another character that is always persisting on the screen in front of you and not disappearing from sight frequently.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about that Tracer because we know that there's a proficient Tracer player over on Kasa and Calms. We've seen them running this time and time again to really good effect. And it's this kind of between these DPS players. We've seen the more Sunny taking this kind of longer angles with Freyas and taking on that Sojourn role, and then Calms just creating utter chaos across the flanks and these front sides and the back lines using this tracer to just be a pest and be a nuisance. How do you think that's going to play into someone like Extinction that are kind of looking for these chaotic 1v1s, and they are looking for these angles? Do you think we're still going to see that, or is Comms going to look for something a bit more playing with the team together as a unit?
I think it's going to depend a little bit on what we see shown from Extinction. From what we have information wise regarding a little bit of their champion pool, I would say the 1v1 scenarios kind of benefit them a little bit more based on the pool of heroes that we're seeing that they like to play.
Mhm.
That Pharah, a Genji, Echo, those are three characters that, Genji
Echo.
we haven't really seen, but Echo we've seen numerous times be a very proficient 1v1 character
Yeah.
and has been a little bit of a problem for Kasa at times, but that usually depends on what Kasa is playing as well. If they're playing, Freya, that does get dove on a little bit more and gets, addressed a little more aggressively, as that doesn't have the same kind of in and out capability that Sojourn does with, sliding around and being able to move, maneuver a little bit more comfortably. And so I think it's going to depend a little bit on what Extinction runs, which can depend a little bit on the
Mm.
map. From a tank standpoint, we're looking at a little bit less traditional tanks from what we've seen overall for Extinction. I'm seeing a Rhine listed on here, and that's something that we haven't seen at all yet. So a
Yeah.
Rhine would be interesting
Would love
as
to see it
well.
though.
Absolutely.
And it's also worth mentioning for those of you who may be joining us for the first time or you're maybe newer to us casting these games, we have been watching Casa for a few series now, and they actually have a new coach starting with them for this series, a very seasoned coach, Mercury, who is joining their roster, who we know to be a bit of a powerhouse in the coaching scene, and is looking to kind of shore up Casa's kind of stability and mental fortitude in these games. So we could definitely see that come into effect as well, and maybe start to see Mercury's influence a little bit in the coaching in how they choose to play. Because one thing we can say about Casa from us watching so far is they are very prepared. And one of their strengths, I think, is their ability to adapt and understand what's coming their way and almost preempt those swaps and those changes because they've done their homework.
Yeah, and I think Mercury specifically, they have some veteran experience with coaching and being in the scene for Overwatch at a high level, coming from Bellevue University, but also working with Pirates Pajamas. So I think they're
Yeah.
just looking to bring some of that experience to the table here for a relatively, new roster on Casa and see what kind of, you know, future they can get rolling and see what kind of synergy they can really solidify for Casa and bring, some stable consistency to them.
Yeah, because I mean, we talk about these players. They're very talented. A lot of these players across the board, not just for Casa, but we've got some very talented players here. But sometimes it's the coach's job really to coax that out of them. I feel like esports is so much more of a mental game than people give it credit for. You might have the fingies, you might be able to press that WASD at the right times, but it's a mental game, particularly for something like Overwatch. When you're going into these long, kind of best of fives, it's how do you come back off a tough loss on map one and hold it together and play your game? How do you read the game as a unit, as a team? How do you deal with adversity? And I think that's where the coaches really come into their own in creating that kind of and fostering that team environment.
Absolutely. And, to speak to that, with their time with Pirates and Pajamas, they have experience in the Face It League scene as well as a coach,
Mhm.
having brought a team, to it before and been in it as a coach. So they're not new to the scene either in specific to Face It. And they have been around coaching for Overwatch for quite a while now at this time. And so I think they're just looking to really bring that in and just flex that experience a little bit and bring another team into the advancements of Face It.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we start to look towards game number one shortly, hopefully, as we're getting in, the way this is going to work is we are starting off on the control maps. So the first map is going to be either, bear with me just a moment, it's either going to be Ilios, Nepal, or Busan. Loser then chooses the next map and the next variation of the maps. Um,
So
so,
far,
sorry, go ahead.
so far we haven't had anything in the time that we've been watching and casting for Kasa. We haven't seen anything but Nepal in the first round, and it is currently
And
looking like it might be Nepal again here.
yeah, I don't
But
think we're
we'll
gonna get
wait for
any
that to be
switch ups.
solidified in. But Nepal is a great map. We talked
Why
about
do you
it. It
think
is
that is?
my
I mean, what,
preference.
let's touch on this a little. Why do we think Nepal is the favored control map here? Is it
It's a
because of the
classic.
current
It's an
metas?
OG.
Yeah,
I think it's
there's that
just
comfort.
I think it's a map that offers all of what Ilios and Busan offer. It's a map that does have opportunities for characters to be able to bump people off the map, but a lot of it is also still very centralized. Ilios
Hmm.
has some good maps, but I think a lot of people, in my experience, at least me personally, I hate the iteration of Ilios in control with the pit in the middle of the map for one of the control points, and that kind of takes away
Yeah.
some space for a control and being able to fight around it, and that definitely benefits a lot more to that Lucio play. So there's that. Busan is a little more flat and stable through and through. It doesn't really offer that versatility as much,
Hmm.
except for one of the maps. Not a lot of people like the central room, tower one,
Oh yeah, no,
where
not
it's
at all.
just a giant high ceiling with the walls in the middle and the point right there. So I think Nepal is just a bit more favored where the control point tends to be in a more open setting, but it does have some options around it. But it's just a tried and true, consistent map that a lot of people
Mm.
have had experience on over the years, and I think it's just people's preference of a map.
Yeah, and I'd probably also say, given what the meta is currently, or given what we're seeing as the meta in the Face It League, we talked about these supports. We are seeing a lot of these Lucio Kiris who, I mean, let's be honest, they're going to have a bit of a field day on Ilios as well. But Nepal offers a bit of both. Like you said, there are those opportunities for the Lucios to get in position. We've seen it in previous series, using that high wall climbing to find the angles to boot people off. But there's also stability in it as well. There's high grounds that teams can try and push from. There's the hidden room on the side. If we're talking about the first point, there's a little hidden room where you can play off of. And I think it also allows for a different depth of strategy between, and allows for a lot of adaptation. If something's not working, there's plenty of different strats you can bring to Nepal uh, to make uh, to make different things work. And I think that's, I guess, what gives teams the feeling of a bit more freedom in being able to play the game that they want to play on the pool.
Yeah, I think it's just a very consistent map for all team comps that exist and for all the heroes that there are. It doesn't really Nepal isn't a map that really caters more to one type of play style more than another, which maybe is the case
As
with
heavily, yeah.
Ilios or Busan in terms of favoritism for hero playstyle. And just, the way the Nepal maps are designed, it just kind of, works out for any hero composition that we see.
So while we're waiting to get into the first game here, as we're waiting for the players to kind of load up into the lobby, as we got some in, some out right now, let's put ourselves on the line here and do some predictions. So let's start. I'm setting us up for failure here, Zav, but let's do some predictions here. And let's start with some maps. So we know that we're getting Nepal to start with. Let's talk about the hybrid maps. Which one do you think we're going to get? Blizzard World, Kings Row, or Midtown? If we assume that we get to all of these, of course. These are just our random throw-out predictions.
Well, for hybrid maps, I'm not sure. We haven't seen hybrid map yet. It hasn't been one that we've been able to be on. Escort, so far, we've seen Shambali, Monastery, and Dorado. No Route 66 yet, but I could see Dorado being thrown back there. New Queen Street, I think, is definitely the favorite map in that regard for push. And for Flashpoint, New Junk City, I think, is a lot better. Suravasa is not a lot of people's favorite. I typically hear people dread Suravasa when it comes to the map pool selection. They typically like anything but Suravasa. So I think we definitely would see New Junk City for Flashpoint.
And let me get a very quick prediction from you as we've got 10 seconds left before we get into game number 1. Who do you think's taking this series? And what scoreline has put you to the test? I'm going to go 3-1 Kasa.
That's what I was going to go with. I think that there is definitely room where they could make some mistakes and it causes them to drop around. 3-0 is definitely possible, but they have yet to show that ability to completely shut out a team yet in the time that we've been watching. But we are now getting underway.
We go. Map number 1 between Extinction and Kasa Esports as we get in some really spicy picks that we were not ready for at all. The Juno coming out for Red X. Hex is sitting on a break here. We would not have predicted any of these picks, really. So let's see how this plays out. There's a Farah coming out from Corrido as Temp gets the first pick on Sunnyside. That might let them get in here with the numbers advantage, as they're going to back off, and Aksha accepts that as Social also gets Hex out the way, and there's going to be an early back off for Kasa with Extinction taking that early pressure.
And an early swap there for Sunnyside onto the Freya now, going for that more long-range option, probably to try and deal with that fair a little bit. And we are seeing, like you said, it's a very different team comp for what we're seeing from Extinction. We haven't seen this type of lineup at all. It is almost completely different heroes that we have seen in any of the matches so far. The Bap, the Ashe, the Wu Yang, Farah. It's a very different look than what Kasa has been seeing recently as well. So they're going to need to adjust their play and find what's going to work for them, as we're seeing a few different heroes be swapped around for Kasa.
Yeah, and I feel like this is already feels like Kasa is having to play into Extinction's game rather than Kasa playing their own game. As you see Sunnyside trying to contest the Farah, gets them down low, but just bobbing either side of that wall. Temp, though, gets Sunny with that nade, and this Ashe is proving to be a bit of a problem here from Temp, as they can't really find a way in. Gets up top, gets Extra as well, and they're brought all the way back to their spawns. So looking a little tough to start with here. They're going to have to try and find the answer, as Comms does switch to that Echo that we talked about before. Obviously, to try and contest this Farah, who is quite happily just poking over the top right now.
Yeah, as of this time, Kasa is not really able to find some solid ground to push in. This is definitely proving to be a very tough first match for them. I think it's going to be a very adjusting match for them right now. Here comes Bob coming out. They do bring down Social, but Sunnyside went down as well for a 1-for-1 trade, and so the ults are rolling out. We do have the Ramattra ready to go, but Temp eliminates Hex quickly. Tools bringing down Carms, and it is going to be advantage very heavily in favor forward to Extinction right now, and they're going to gradually one by one eliminate Kasa out and take this first game in this match 1.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, Kev, that last fight came just down to ult economy. Kasa didn't really have anything to work with because they kept being forced to swap. So we saw that Corrido just happy to solo ult Aksha with that Farah, drop the missiles on top, make sure that action was finished off. And there we see, I think we're going to need to see some changes from Kasa. Maybe make sure they're playing the way they want to play and not get drawn into this very skirmish heavy fight style coming out from Extinction.
And we're seeing that a little bit right now. Red X already reverting back to that Kiriko, and Karm's going on to the Echo. And I think we're just going to gradually see Kasa revert to what they are consistent and stable on versus trying to do something a little bit different. And we are seeing from, and there it is, Temp out very early on there with a pickup from Sunnyside. So that's going to be a nice early advantage to Kasa as the point looks to unlock here in just a few seconds.
Yeah, and you can see them running at two. Is that tools? Tools. You can see them running at them as well with the Echo, just trying to keep them away as that Ram goes into the Nemesis form. Up and above, we see the Farah still poking and prodding, being a bit of a nuisance, and Red X back on comfort as Temp does get the better of Sunnyside, picks off again from that Ash. And Sunny has had some issues with being picked off in previous series, so let's see if they can shore that up in this one. As trades coming out all across. Juno does get Hex. Red X gets Social as well, gets the opposite Kiri, so healer down. And it's interesting to see Hex sitting on this Wuzhang instead of their Lucio that we know them to be so effective on. As Tools gets a triple with that Ram as well, being a nuisance in this front side.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much Ramatra play up against Kasa, and Tools is really proving to be a difficult tank for them to deal with. Tools is the other tank for Extinction. They split a lot of time with Pella. Pella typically runs a different front for the tank role, and we're seeing a much more aggressive play on Tools, but I think we need to see a little bit of kill securing from Kasa. And there it is, Sunnyside and Red X picking up one apiece, but Kirito takes Sunny out in the exchange. Sunny had to pop the ult there to pick up the Juno, so advantage right now in favor of Kasa as it's 2 down for Extinction, and they're going to look to take control of the point here and get some percentage racked up on the board.
Yeah, and this is a great angle to see this from. You can see the Farah on the right-hand side just picking up Red X there with a bit of a stray missile after the Kiri ult was dropped, and here we go. Look for this ult from the Farah. They are inside. It is a tight corridor, but Tools popping theirs as well. You do not want to go anywhere near this Ram as they are ulting, and this is going to give them the point back, 60%. It's kind of running away from them. They need to back out and try not to lose too much so they can recontest, but at the moment, it's like a 1-for-1. Temp is getting Red X as well, and they are just falling, and they are getting brought into this chaos, really, this very skirmish playstyle from Extinction, running them ragged across the map. Sunnyside does get Juno, so that might give them enough to run through to it as Sunnyside getting pressured, but Tools has gone a bit too fast. Sunny lays down the deeps. That's what they need. Someone needs to get in here, 85%, and it looks like they're going to run off the back of that, try and get in, use the ults. Hex has got an ult, Action, Calms, all with theirs to go. Temp does get the kill on Red X. Sunnyside gets the trade, but Corrido trades all the way back, and this looks really tough. Temp is ready for the Calms swap. The Echo, the Ash, 39 HP. Temp gets Calms. That's unreal that they managed to stay alive and get the kill. Farah running after the Wuzhang, making sure they can't get that kill, as it looks like Extinction have taken this map 2-0, playing their way and making it really difficult for Kasa to feel out the map and get into it, really. Just always playing on the back foot.
That was definitely a very tough game for Kasa to play off the rip. It was a very different look for them from what they've been playing up against. I think we're going to be seeing them make those adjustments back to that stability that they're known for with their previous lineups, but they might look to just continue to try different fronts as well here. You know, the no Lucio is not something that is common for them. And the Ramatra was a problem, but there were a lot of times, the thing that I noticed with Kasa in that match is the lack of kill security, kill securing on some of these kills, on some of these heroes against Extinction, where we saw Ramatra get low numerous times and was able to just squeeze away and get healed back up and stay in the fight. You know, that lack of downtime being, you know, not put on the table for them, and just having consistent pressure around the point was really a big advantage there for Extinction. But I think Temp is going to be the big one for Kasa to keep an eye out for and really look to lock down. Temp was just kind of a menace on the Ashe the entire time through that match and was just picking up kills one after another.
Yeah, and I think it actually comes out from the pressure from the Pharah. Actually, I think the Pharah was doing so much and creating so much focal point because they had to deal with the Pharah. They're getting all the way around them, getting these pickoffs on Sunny as well. Who I think Sunny is struggling a bit on this fray. I think I would like to see them, default back to something a bit more comfortable for them because I do think they're getting picked off quite a lot as they're trying to sit back from range with this Freya. But the Pharah creates so much frontside pressure that this Ashe is kind of free, honestly, just sitting in the back. And as soon as Echo tries to get on top of them, we saw it a couple of times, they can just throw the damage back and get the trade out. So I definitely do want to see Kasa try and stabilize. And it really did feel like they were drawn into Extinction's game plan there. And they were trying to plug holes. It's like a boat having 10 different holes in. You're trying to get picks to plug those holes one by one. And there's just too much to try and deal with at once rather than getting a new boat, right? if we want to use that analogy. So hoping to see that as we move to New Junk City for game number 2.
New Junk City. Wow, so we're going to be going straight into Flashpoint here. Definitely a map that can be extended out for quite a bit lengthier of a duration. We are looking to see hopefully a little bit of reversion maybe here for Kasa. There was no Sojourn played either by them in that first game, which would be a character that would help deal with the Pharah in the sky. But the Pharah for Extinction did a very good job of playing, high and low, and even was, in and out of rooms a little bit, and just kind of being, like you were saying, they were being a problem. They were creating a lot of pressure and just hitting one or two shots in the back line to get that damage for an Ashe to be able to finish them off in a very quick manner is, it definitely leans into itself for what it's able to do. And right now we're seeing some traditional hovers. We're seeing what looks like that more normal team comp out of Kasa that we've seen in these previous weeks. And so we're going to see if that brings them some of that stability for them this time around, as we will see Extinction, changing it up a little bit and running that Lucio and Kiriko as well. Temp is on the Sojourn also, so it's going to be a Sojourn v Sojourn trade-off here for Sunnyside to go up against. But there is a little bit of somebody else there with that Venture.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much a mirror matchup for right now, except for the tank. So this really comes down to Aksha versus Tools here, and I'm sure Aksha is going to want some revenge after that first game. Temp already, though, with a snipe onto Sunny. That Sojourn getting taken out, so that's quite a lot of the damage already gone, and we see the back out immediately from Kasa, understanding that they've got to wait and reaggress when they can. And again, Sunnyside getting picked off early in comms. Again, Temp is punishing them for their mispositioning here.
Like we talked about, Temp is the key player here. There's no Pharah this time to use as a not necessarily a crutch, but as a blame for letting Ashe be free. And right now it is just Temp having a field day on that Sojourn. So Kasa's going to need to look to shore up some security onto locking down Temp and taking some of the pressure off of their team with it.
Yeah, and I think this might come down to Hex, actually, because Hex does have an ult not too far away, does have the beats, and they're quite behind in the ult economy already because of that first pressure point. Tools goes down low, but already look at the cover here. Red X does get Corridos, so it is a 1-for-1 trade. This might be what they need, but the Kyriel is down. Tools is in that Nemesis form as well, so it's very hard to push in here. The bubbles are keeping them up. Actually just dives straight past, goes, I'm not even going to try and deal with you. Get social, which is a big pickup on that Lucio. This could be what they need to push in, and there we go. Red X finally takes Tools out, and it looks good for Kasa. Finally understanding that, hey, we just maybe need to get past this Ram, run past them and take out the supporting cast, and they do exactly that to stop that first cap and give themselves a fighting chance in this one.
Yeah, unfortunately, they did end up having to burn both of their support ults, not only to getting onto the objective, but also to sustain themselves on it. And they're going to advance here now and look to maintain control and keep the pressure onto Extinction and try and keep Extinction off the point after they were just on there, almost reclaiming it.
Yeah, we do have a grab though, so Action needs to go big here. Sunny with a great pick on social. That's what we needed to see from them as we see Tools trying to get around the side, but Sunny was there and ready. The railgun in the face, and Sunny goes crazy. This will be a great confidence boost for them as they go in and clean house with Action off the back of it. And this looks like actually a great turnaround for Kasa. I'm not sure they're going to be able to recontest this Extinction and get in time as we see Kasa pushing up front, trying to make sure that they can't get in and secure themselves this first point. Off the back of some really good play from Sunny.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Extinction here just kind of posture for the next point. Yeah, they're not going to get onto it, and they're going to make their way to the next point for this Flashpoint match. And that was a good reclaim by Kasa. We're seeing that stability coming through finally with that Zarya, the Lucio, Kiriko. It's what they know. Sunny side finally, you know, finding some kills to secure and getting some momentum for themselves. Temp dropping low there, but not going down. The pressure is still being kept on by Kasa, and they're going to look to move onto that point and try and push Extinction off of it right now, as Extinction is holding control of that room, and Kasa has to be the ones to force their way through that doorway.
Oh, they've got so many tools to do it, though, and here we go. Everything gets dropped. The beats gets dropped. The Venture's going as well. Beats on both sides, actually. Venture on both sides. The Kyriel as well. Everything has just been popped in a massive dome as Tools does get Red X off the back of it. The grab doesn't actually get anybody. It holds them in place. But it's oh, and Action and Hex come in. Actually, they managed to get the kills, and that's so important. Temp does get Sunnyside, which is a lot of the damage gone. But the trades all around, this is still anybody's point. But right now, the percentage is going in the favor of Extinction, so they don't mind this keeping going at this point. They just want to be able to hold on to this percentage going in. Temp drops that Sojourner, gets two. Calms and Red X goes down. Action kind of left out on a whim on their own, trying to survive, playing off the terrain as best as they can, but with no backup. Temp cleans up house and gives a convincing start to this point number 2, with Kasa having a backup, regroup, and look to recontest, but a lot used on both sides. A bit of a dump from both teams there.
And the point started with a very strong dump on both sides, and then a quick trade with a 2-for-2. And then it just was kind of a slow bleed for Kasa, and Axer was alive for just a little too long by themselves, stalling out on the point, which, you know, slowed up the regroup and getting back to the objective. And down goes 1-for-1 trade there, and we're going to see Kasa look to pick up a couple kills here. Red X, Karm, Sunny, one apiece. They need to get onto the point. They're not going to be able to get there, and they are going to have to go for the next objective instead, the next flashpoint. But they are going to wipe out Extinction, which is going to let them be able to position for control this time, rather than having to force their way on.
Yeah, Red X with some great cleanup kills at the end, but I wonder if that was just maybe a little bit of a misplay from Tools there. Got themselves a little bit isolated as soon as they popped the ult, and Kasa did a great job of turning and burning. They see that ult going, see the isolation by Tools, and managed to burn down that ram before any significantly heavy damage was done. So they do get the point, but there's a lot to play with here for Kasa coming into this third point. Sunnyside with theirs, Calms nearly with their ult as well on the Venture, and Red X in Action not too far behind. So if they can time this well, they should have a good advantage. A Sunnyside already using that railgun to get the early pick, forcing out the Kyriel on the floor as well from Juno. Confusing name, I know, but keep with us, and the grab is excellent. Holds them into the corner as Calms and Hex cleans up house off the back of it, and this is what we wanted to see from Agsha. We talked about tank comfort, and we see Agsha on this Zarya and how effective they've been all tournament long on this pick, and this is a scary play to face into with this hero.
Zarya just brings that strong, stable consistency of play and utility time and time again. That grab well is just so impactful for what it's able to do, especially being able to, even if it just slows up a support for a moment, it can allow for the DPS to just instantaneously obliterate them and take them out of that fight.
Yeah, and a really good disengage actually for Kasa. Seeing Temp pop that Sojourn, and they just play around it, make sure they can't get any value. And in the meantime, Aksha gets the kill on Corrido. So now we're starting to see the cohesion coming in for Kasa, what we know them for, their team play. Temp does get the pick off, gets Red X as well. Sunnyside does trade out, but Temp looks like they might be going ham as Sunnyside on the other side. And this is the tale of two Sojourns trying to get in on top of the Zarya, but I don't know if you want to do that, Temp. That bubble is up and running, and you have just got stormed off the point for that. And it's second point going to Kasa as we see the stabilization in the picks that we know them so well for. And I think this is going to give them a big confidence boost in this game going into point number 4.
Now we are seeing a very different swap up here for Extinction. They're bringing out the Mei, which is an interesting pick. We haven't seen a Mei utilized very much at this point in the Overwatch FACEIT than the time that we've been watching Kasa. So we're going to see some walls coming out. I think that's going to be used mainly, big utility there to be able to block out some of those shots, prevent some of those kill secures, the railgun shots. And it's going to maybe be used to, lock up the Zarya a little bit. And there goes Axer down after picking up a kill on Kirito to take out the Mei. But Temp bringing in that secure on Axer. So now there's no front side, there's no front line to hold for Kasa, and they're going to one by one be pushed off the point as this ram goes deep on them.
And look at this Lucio chase. How do you get away from this? As they're chasing down the stragglers, making sure that they can't recontest quickly. And we have seen this Mei, I believe, once, and I do think it is a good pick into the Zarya specifically. Just blocking off this ability for the Zarya to run at you full force as a DPS player, 100 charge. You can get into that ice block and at least stall out time, and give the rest of your team enough time to kind of re-aggress and regroup. So it's a pure stall tactic, I think, here. And the Blizzard can be very effective as we see Temp popping off again, getting that initial pick off Sunny, which triggers the speed up. As we see the Kyriel go down, the grab is excellent in the back though. Comes off the back of it, gets a double. It's a beautiful combo that might keep them in this. Red X gets the kill on Juno's. Action does go down eventually, but Tools is still standing strong in this front side with the Mei. We talked about this stall potential from Corrido on this Mei, and they stand tall. Tools and Corrido making sure that they cannot re-aggress into that point. And it looks like we are going all the way, despite a great combination coming out from Kasa.
Really strong, ult there with the gravity. They picked up a few quick kills against Extinction, but Extinction was very quick to retaliate and hold strong into that and just quickly turned it around and eliminated, Kasa right off the point. And now we're going to actually see Kasa look to change it up again. Axer onto the Orisa, bringing some of that projectile block utility and piercing people off, but Sunny down once again. Tools picking up that kill, and it is going to be very difficult for Kasa to get the momentum here onto the point. They've got to find something that works a bit more for them. Sunny is getting eliminated from these fights very early on. That last point when the beats were dropped right before the whole fight broke out, Sunny wasn't in that fight at all. They got eliminated right before that engagement, and now we're gonna see Sunny pick up a double. That's what they needed from Sunny, but they are low. They need to be careful, not fall out of this fight. They need to stay around, but they do go down. Temp finding them for a kill, but Axer is going to bring down Kirito, and Karms is going to secure Juno. Hex eliminating Temp, and that is going to be a wipe for Kasa, finding that kill aggression that they needed, and they're going to take control of the point now.
Yeah, and I think this is such an important point. When Sunny does have the freedom on this Sojourn, they are putting in some serious work, but they have to be careful about their early positioning because they are getting caught out quite often, and that's a lot of their damage gone. And once again, going so low, just as we're talking about it, they've got to be careful because I think that Sunny's actually been targeted pretty heavily here by Extinction. Seeing that is a lot of their damage go down as Red X just flicks around the side, gets a 2-tap onto Temp, and the beast goes down from Social. They need to try and stall this out. They understand that this is the last point as everything has been popped. Red X going down so low. Corrido does get the finish, so does Social. It looks like they're going to try and hold on to the rest of their ults, though. Maybe try and recontest afterwards, as you don't really want to use it. Tools going onto that Diva, trying to deal with Karms on this Pharah and make sure they can't have completely free reign. And I do like this Diva pick. Also gives them a lot of mobility to dive on that backside. And put even more pressure on Sunny. But the question is, how much are you leaving for Aksha to do on this Orisa if you're jumping around?
Well, I think this is actually the first time we're seeing tools off of the Ramatra, and it's going to be interesting to see how that works out for them. I think right now it is going quite well, but the Orisa is going to bring a little bit more of the ability to push people off the point.
It's 94%. Someone's got to touch. Sunnyside gets the pick, but someone needs to touch. It looks like they are below. So Sunnyside getting the 2 kills. That might be what they need. And Sunny looks like they might have clutched it from the jaws of defeat as Temp takes the 1v1. Does get the kill. Actually gets tools, though. So no Diva. They get the point back in their favor. It's 90%. If they can stagger this, this is so good. Aksha gets Temp. They're looking for this Lucio holding that Javelin, trying to force them off the point. The OT is here. It's anybody's. Can they touch? No, and Kasa take it 3-2 just in the nick of time. My word, Sunny, you showed up in that last fight, and that is exactly what they needed from their DPS player to take that game. Oh, they couldn't have made it closer if they tried.
Really great showing across the board. We are seeing Temp here on that Sojourn. Very well earned for that play of the match with the Sojourn on Temp. Temp was a incredibly proficient kill secure for Extinction in that match. They were a big problem for Kasa, and I think they're going to continue to be a problem for Kasa, but we are seeing Kasa make those adjustments and lean into that comfort that they have with their comp that they know, and it's working a lot better for them at this time in the series. But overall, Extinction is no pushover. They are here, they are playing, and they are competing through. You know, that going to 5 points really shows that they're not going to go down easy at all.
No, they have come to play and they're ready for a fight. And I think, you know, maybe what we're seeing a little bit here is I think Castle were maybe a little nervy, you know, coming off the back of that big loss a couple of days ago, and not quite sure, you know, getting into that first game, maybe a bit of nerves coming. And when you're on the back foot so significantly from game number 1, it can get in your head a bit. And this is maybe where we're seeing the coach's influence here, you know, to settle down Castor and say, hey, it's not over yet. You know, that's game 1. Let's play our game. Let's get into our zone. And we saw it. We saw the clawback. So if they can carry on that momentum swing off the back of a really close game, but a win in their favor, it might give them the mental fortitude they need to take the next game in convincing fashion.
And I think that Orisa swap for Axer there on that final point actually leaned in for them quite a bit, as it allowed for them to trade a bit more aggressively into Temp as well. And, you know, we saw that being able to secure that kill on Temp, being able to just completely block the shots that were coming out by Temp with that, you know, that spear twirl. And it is just such a good tool for an Orisa to have against a projectile heavy comp. And, you know, the Orisa chased that Lucio off the point. The Lucio went up and around and was trying to get back to touch point, but they were just a little too long. And so, you know, being able to scare people off the point, push them off the point with those spears, pin them to the walls, and just being able to kind of hold things down is definitely a nice presence that an Orisa can bring.
Yeah, and overtime in Overwatch is unforgiving. You know, you do not have long when that timer starts zipping down to try and touch and keep it, you know, and keep it refreshed and keep going. And it was a nice attempt from the Lucio, but yeah, I do really like the adaptation. And we talked about this, you know, as one of the strengths of Kasa Esports. They are very good at adapting. And I think this is why we wanted to, you know, when we're talking about it in the beginning, to not let them get drawn in and try and adapt to what they know they want to play. And we saw much more confidence in that as we go into map number 3 here. And we are heading to New Queen Street for the push extravaganza. And we have seen some spicy maps on this one, both very dominant and some incredibly close ones. So hoping to get some hoping to have a really good game for this map number 3.
You know, I'm 3 for 3. I'm 3 for 3 on maps right now. You know, we started off with Nepal, like we said, but then, you know, even if that's the defaulting what everybody's going to so far, we've saw New Junk City, people not big fans of Saravasa, and now we're on New Queen Street. No Runasapi yet. So new Queen Street. Here we go. We're going to keep it going. We'll see if we end up going 4 for 4 or even 5 for 5 on the map selections.
Yeah, and do bear in mind this is obviously it's a loser picks the map and the mode. Obviously you can't repeat modes, so that's why we're doing push. But this was Extinction's choice, so we see the picks coming out. We're not going to get baited until they leave spawn, but if they stick with this is some very spicy picks, and they are. Pella showing us the Wrecking Ball, Lampent going on to a Genji, and a Social flipping back towards that Wuzhang. So we're no change for Kasa. They're playing what we expect them to play on their comfort, with Hex going back to that Lucio. So let's see how this shakes out. The ball could put in some a lot of work on this map. We know how annoying this hero can be. As Sunny just building up, trying to get some poke and prodding down. See who can get this first pick, and Pella gets Hex, and there it is. That's the pick that they're looking for to try and start the push in their favor, as Pella gets another one on Sunny's side, and this is going to be a back out angle for Kasa.
Yeah, we're seeing right now the big change up by Extinction, which is going to actually benefit them quite a bit. Kasa was not very comfortable with their, very different hero selection in that first game, and they're seeing it again right now. Axer is securing a couple kills there for Kasa, but we are seeing a very different showing. Pella in for tools at this time. They're, on that tank role, being the Wrecking Ball at the moment, but Lampent was there on that Genji, which we hadn't seen at all, but he's quick to swap off it and is now onto that Sombra, and that is not a character that we've seen at all yet so far in this series for FACEIT. In the time that we've been here, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. And very quickly we're going to see 3 kill swing for Extinction, but 2 right back for Kasa. It's a bit of a back and forth here. Temp securing once more on Red X. Axer the only one alive.
It's Axer
still
against the world right now,
trying to keep it alive. If they're going to go down, Pella bringing down that final
40
kill.
HP though. Oh my word, the 1v1 Pella v Axer, tank v tank, only ones left. It came down to 40 HP with the slam down to finish it off. But look at this. The point is continuing to be pushed 40 meters. And we know that this can turn in the later stages of the game. So don't think this game is over by any means. As we see the ball, the mines go down. He's spotted all of them, ready for them to try and contest, as Red X does pick up Social. And we've seen Red X do this time and again on this Kiri. One of the reasons why we see this hero so much. Does protect that Sojourn as well. Make sure Sunny can stay alive. Juno does get that pick on their opposite number, as everyone is kind of being distracted by this Wrecking Ball just being in their face and being so annoying, which is making so much room for Temp as they pop the ult, looking for anyone, but you can see the back off really nicely played actually from Kasa, understanding exactly where the Sojourn was and making sure that all hit cover, and that ult does not come to any effect as Juno drops the Kirill on the floor. The beats go down for Kasa, and it looks like everyone's just going to try and hold steady, but everyone is trapped in this room. Can Pella get themselves out? No, they can't. Sunny and Red X get those pickoffs. Temp, though, still here, getting their opposite number on Sunny. Someone needs to try and push Temp off this angle as they get the robot back into their favor. 65 meters down, though. And if they can stagger Temp here, this would be massive.
It'd be really good to see Temp get blocked out of this situation, but we're
great
going to see Juno go down. The Juno go down to Axer. And another pickup there for Carms, getting the pickup there on Lampent, and so it is still favoring for Kasa with the kills, but they're not moving the push objective very much. It's a very in and out. This is part of the annoying thing about Wrecking Ball. He's able to just hang around, get in and out, and constantly hold the point up. And it's slow going for Kasa, even though they are getting kills and they have momentum.
Oh, no.
They're not able to really advance it in a steady fashion because of the constant delaying that is able to come in. Juno picking up one, Social, Wu Yang securing Carms down, Lampet locking out Hex, and Axer is going to trade the 1 for the 3, but it is just not looking hot for Kasa as they are going to be completely eliminated here in off the point, and that is going to be a strong kill off by Extinction.
Okay, listen, if any Overwatch devs ever see this, we need to talk about this Kiri damage, because what is this hero? Like the pickoffs that are coming out from both of these Kirikos on Red X and Juno is absolutely absurd. We
Well,
saw
Kiri's
it
the
there from
poster child.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's just ridiculous. This hero is outrageous. As we see, continuing to push forward 80 meters, this wrecking ball, as you said, is causing so many problems. And this is what we're talking about with Extinction. You know, we talked about in the beginning them loving these 1v1s, you know, taking these duels, these fights. And this is where Sombra excels. You know, the Sombra wrecking ball just making it really hard for Kasa to try and group up together and play collectively as a unit, because they're just being pulled left and right. As we see, Red X does finally punish Pella for going a bit too far, and this is where Aksha can now start to really push forward and punish. And we see Calms feeling like they're forced to have to match the Sombra as well, but maybe not as practiced on it as Lampin, as they do go down.
First time we've seen Carms on the Sombra ourselves. Aksha around half HP. Need to be careful. Beats are dropped. They're going for the engage onto the point. They're trying to work that push objective back, but there's Pella just to knock people away. Carms did manage to secure temp, but Lampit returning it right back on Hex. And that is going to be a support down for Kasa. So their survivability is going to be a little light right now, but they are trying to work that push objective back. Pella securing one on Sunnyside, and it is going to be an advantage for Extinction here. This ball is just a problem.
Yeah, it's causing number mismatches is the main thing on this map. Is the speed at which Pella can get in onto any kind of 1v1 taking place. And this is where Lampin on this Sombra is causing a lot of mayhem, forcing out these duels. And then as you see here, these duels are then just exacerbated by Social Lampert jumping on, creating numbers disadvantages for Kasa, and then this ball can come out of nowhere, and it's making it really tough for Kasa to get any stability on a map like this. And we're seeing why Extinction wanted to play this, and they are coming out in force. Kasa need to pull something together here, or shore up their angle, shore up their sides.
And Pella really showing a lot of comfort on the wrecking ball. They've just been, they have not felt out of place at all in this match whatsoever from the get-go. We are seeing a quick double come out by Kasa here, managing to get a little bit of momentum, but Pella right there turning it back on Sunnyside. Sunnyside down once again. They were 1% away from ultimate, and Aksha is going to bring down Social, support down for Extinction. Juno goes off as well, and Pella is just going to run back on their own. They don't need to drop off the map or anything to reset, because they are ball and they just can roll their way back to their team. And that's exactly what they're going to do, and wait for Kasa to show up once more around the corner, yet to really make any progress with that push. And, you know, Ball is just able to go up in the sky, up the walls, all around, and just hang out all he likes.
Yeah, and Aksha's having a really hard time just like being able to sit anywhere really, because of this ball can just be everywhere that they want to be, take any fight they want to. And excuse me, the trades do come out. Sunnyside does get Lampert, which is a big pickoff. And Aksha, once Aksha gets some time and some, you know, support, as we see from the Kiri here, Aksha can put in a lot of work and has been putting in a lot of work, but it feels like they're playing on the back foot the entire time rather than front foot forward, which is why they're having such a hard time pushing this cart forward. And the disengaging from Extinction is pretty immediate. And is making it really difficult to get any momentum off the back of any pickoff, really.
Yeah, the ball is just really impressive. We are going to see the beats drop as he drops in on the backside, but Redx is going to be able to take out Lampin very early on in the exchange. Aksha bringing down Juno. It's a very strong favor for Kasa, but Social trading Hex out, and so that's a support down on both sides. And here comes the ball, getting in, causing chaos. Aksha bringing down Social. No supports up for Extinction at this time as they're, you know, trying to work their way back, but Ball doesn't have to worry about that. They are in and out at will, but it is finally seeing some forward progress for Kasa, managing to bring those kills in, and we are going to see them secure once again. Lampit down. Kasa trying to keep them staggered. That's going to be a key thing for them right now, is, you know, just trying to keep one person staggered at a time, because they're not really able to stop Pella at all whatsoever on that wrecking ball.
Listen, Aksha has no right to be getting the momentum that they are on this Zarya. Their bubble timings are so fast. It means that, like, with this dueling prowess that we're talking about, you know, we talked about from the other side of the board, joining these fights, creating these number mismatches, but Azure, on the same token, throwing these bubbles out and kind of evening out the score in a lot of ways, but they're putting in the speed at which these bubbles are coming out when someone gets jumped on is allowing these fights that even remotely go in their favor. As we get to the last 20 seconds, it's absolutely now or never. They have to win this fight to keep this momentum pushed forward. Calms gets Lampert, Juno gets the trade up, but Temp gets a double, and it's all going to be on Aksha here. Can they hold the line? Klee throwing down those mines. I don't know if they're going to be able to even touch. There's 2 seconds on the clock. Aksha is here, but they can't even touch. And Extinction, with just an unbelievably irritating strat to play into, managed to take game number 3, making it a 2-1, and Pella take a bow. This is a demonic Wrecking Ball performance.
Yeah, Wrecking Ball showing why he is the #1 hated tank in the game. People do not like him. He is a problem. He is annoying. He just absolutely, unequivocally frustrates people and has been known to be the cause for, quite a few people to stop playing the game because they just cannot tolerate him. And there we get to see Pella show exactly why. It's just annoying. He doesn't let you play the game when he's able to reign free.
I think what it does more than anything is it forces you to have to make a snap decision so fast. Because when you've got the ball jumping on you, you have to either decide, can I take this fight or can I not? If I can't, I need to leave, but can I leave quicker than a ball can catch up to me? No, probably not. So it forces these very quick communications, these very quick decisions from these players, and almost like sitting on each other. And I think Kasa, if it was just that being the problem alone, then maybe they could have done. But with this very interesting Sombra pick as well, utilizing the pressure that the ball is putting out very well, and it just caused way too much mayhem for Kasa to try and deal with. I think they did a great job, and big shout out to Aksha putting up one hell of a performance on the Zarya to try and keep them in it on that map, but just a little bit too much to try and handle by themselves. So this is going to be tough going into game number 4. Now, they do have the choice, and we do have, I believe,
Escort and Hybrid.
Escort and Hybrid left.
Yep,
so
Escort and
both
Hybrid.
of these favor Kasa. We've had a lot of the flashpoint, the push, these very skirmish-heavy game modes. I think these two are going to favor Kasa's playstyle a bit more, but can they convert it? That's going to be the question.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I would actually almost say that, these maybe favor Extinction a little bit, just because, push is very akin to how Escort works and how Hybrid works in terms of moving that payload towards the endpoint objective. And we just saw how proficient they were with doing that on push. Sure. But Kasa did do a very good job of making adjustments. It was just very late on in the game. I mean, it took until the last minute and a half really for them to get that momentum and actually secure consistent kills. And, they got a team kill at the end, and they were able to make a good, strong advancement of that push objective. It was just, they didn't really have time to be able to contest that back and forth a little bit. They were stuck at the middle of the map for so long. And so that's going to be what I think is going to be the key for them this time around. If we still see that Wrecking Ball as a presence in these upcoming 2 maps.
So just so you guys who obviously won't be able to see this if you're watching with us, we are heading to Shambali Monastery as map number 4. So hitting up the Escort, and we will go to Hybrid if we get to game 5, which obviously Kasa are hoping for here. So Shambali is the make or break for Kasa Esports in this series.
Yep, this is their elimination match, so they really want to lean into what they're going to be comfortable on, what they're going to be proficient on, and just secure this win as quickly as they can. Now, this map, they had some difficulty on it. Last week up against Nightmare. Nightmare took them off of this map very quickly. This was a map that Nightmare was very good on. They were able to completely hold. Kasa to the first objective point. I don't believe we will see that same thing repeated here against Extinction. just because Extinction does not seem to have that same level of overwhelming dominance that Nightmare had up against Kasa. So I would like to see, how Kasa plays throughout the map of Shambali, as we've only really been able to see them through that first leg of the map up to this point so far.
Yeah, and there's Shambali offers a lot of different options because you do have quite a lot of different rotation spots, little flank angles, different height, particularly trying to get around that third corner. As you get past this first one, you move to the second, and as you start to go up the ramp, there's a lot of high ground to play around as well, and a lot of flank angles. So there's a lot of choices you can run. We saw them try the Freya previously. We saw Ashe be very effective sitting on that high ground and just shooting down the lane. We might even see them go back to the Pharah or the Echo, try and play around the height on this one. As we are 5 seconds away, map number 4. This is make or break for Kasa. Let's see if they can pull it out of the bag. And we're not going to get baited just yet until we see full lock-ins, and this would be interesting from Kasa if this is what they commit to.
Well, we're not going to see Pella. Pella is not in, so no ball. There is no wrecking ball at the very least for this map. There is no wrecking ball because Pella is swapped back out for tools, back on that Ramatra.
Yeah, and I think this is because they're defending first, they want a bit more front side stability, trying to particularly get around this front corner. I think this front corner particularly is very good for a Ram, right? Because people need to come into you. It's very difficult if you play on that corner to try and maneuver around them. And that's where Ram really likes it, is they can run into that Nemesis form and make it very difficult. And we see Sunny trying to get an initial pick on the Widow, switching back to the Ashe as they're going to just pepper down the lane with comms on that Echo that we know that they love playing this Echo. As Agsha matching Ram for Ram. Corrido going back onto the Pharah. So this might be a bit of an aerial battle between Comms and Corrido here. Here come the trades. Sunny gets social. Corrido trades it out straight away. So it is a 1-for-1 as Temp gets one and immediately goes down to Agsha. We see Comms trying to push them off the high ground here, which successfully done. As the payload does move forward just a smidgen. As Redex gets Juno. That's a great pickup on the Ana. We haven't talked about this Ana. You said you wanted to see one. Well, hey, Juno's going to give it to you, but they do immediately get taken out as Action moves forward. Sunnyside already setting up on the high ground, trying to get the damage down, trying to get that pick off on the Ana, hiding around that corner. But all the meanwhile, this is being pushed forward. And this is a great first turn, honestly, for Kasa. Not really contested, moving around that first corner.
I'm wondering how long they will stick to that Ashe. I wonder if they're going to stick to it as a, consistent pick throughout the duration of the map, or if they're just using it purely for that first lane to be able to get out of spawn. That's a common thing that we see in these types of games, where you run just a very specific character to help you get out of spawn because it maybe isn't a very, reliable entryway into the entryway for escorting the cart. So the Ashe is still a good DPS. It's still a good character all the way through. The Widow is definitely more of that role of the sniper that you would swap off of. But we are going to see Sunny stick to it right now. They probably don't want to swap too late into the ult charge if they do it, so for staying onto it because they don't want to waste that ult swapping, which we saw happen in that game 1, just constantly bouncing around on heroes like Kasa did.
Yeah, and they're struggling on this corner once again a little bit. This is where they get held up yesterday by a couple of days ago by Nightmare on this second corner. And it looks like they're being held out a bit as Corrido drops the guns, drops the missiles, gets 2. Temp gets the 3rd off the back of it, and Action does get a trade, but Corrido, this is your fight, to be honest, and not having to really expend much. 3 ults still left, 1 minute 20 on the clock, and this might be just a problem corner for Kasa. And they might be kicking themselves here if they get full held. As Sunnyside a little bit away from that Bob still, should have it in time to contest. Comms with the Echo, and Aksha needs to put some pressure forward with this Ram, but first they've got to push them off this high ground, and it's proving very difficult with the sheer amount of damage that they can pull down this lane. 4 ultimates ready. Comms looking to copy that Ram, goes straight in, looking to run them down. Aksha does get social. That's a big first pick. As we see Temp Popping that railgun, trying to get the damage down. Can't quite get it. Comms does go down eventually to Tools. Here comes the Bob. This needs to go big if they want any momentum here. Sunnyside does get temp off the back of it. Corrido, though, gets Hex. It's 35 seconds on the clock. This is the fight they really need. Corrido eventually goes down to Sunnyside. That's a great pick from them off the back of the Bob play, pushing that pressure forward as well. As Sunnyside so low, the Ram is chasing them down. Red X is there with the save. Social does get them, and now Red X is in no man's land. And they've been rooted right towards the end. There's 15 seconds left. This is so bad for them. Someone needs to be able to get in here. Calms can't get the kills. Corrido gets that trade out, and they might have been full held again. Oh, Kasa. This is going to be real struggle for them mentally if they get held up. They're trying to get on touch. The Doomfish just to touch action does manage to get there, but it's going to be, they get a kill. That's actually massive that they get the kill, honestly. But this feels like it's going to be a 1-for-1 feed. Just keep on going in as they are set up and ready on Extinction. Tools will not be denied. Temp will not be denied. And that is a full hold on the same corner that Nightmare did. And oh, Kasa, we are in trouble.
That was really tough for them. I really want to lean into the Corrido ult. That ultimate was incredibly timed. You know, we saw Kasa inside the one room. They tried to all come out following the Kiriko ult onto the objective. And Kirito on that Pharaoh was just right above the doorway and rained hellfire on them as they all came out, and we just watched Kasa drop one by one in that ultimate. So it was a really well-timed counterplay from a singular ult that was utilized by Extinction, and now they're going to be looking to, you know, push this payload quickly. You know, they're gonna show Hanzo at this time. They're, you know, maybe doing the same thing, you know, use that range sniper pressure to get themselves out of the initial hallway. But it's gonna be a tough time here for Kasa. They've really got to hold steady. We are seeing Axer bring out that Junker Queen for the first time today. Maybe looking to get a bit more of aggressive play here, try to get some pickoffs, pull people into them, pull people into their team. And just really help, maybe just, you know, get a little more kill security at this time.
I think Junker is, you know, there's a lot that Junker Queen offers, but it does feel a little like lost, doesn't it? It feels like they're not really sure how to try and full hold this. And instead of going for uber defense, it looks like
see the Mercy.
Try and get in as Social, yeah, on the Mercy with a BAP as well. Looks like they just don't want to let anyone go down. Try and keep everyone up, and if they do get picked off, hey, try and get that res off and keep the pressure moving forward with this Ram in the front side. The flanking coming out from Corrido as well, making this so annoying for them to try and move forward. But this is what I want to see from Axia. Really put that pressure on too, as we see the Ram just being absolutely sent on by the entirety of Kasa. And this is where the Junker Queen really comes into play. Making it difficult for two to stand on their own 2 feet, really, as Axia again gets Social as well. And I wonder if this is going to trigger a very early changes. Axia looks to make a statement on this Junker.
Back to that kill security issue. You know, Axia got the Ram very low off the rip there, but then the Ram was alive for a little too long for my liking. After getting down that low, they did eventually fall to Axia, but you know, Axia didn't get any help on securing down that Ramatra. So you know, I want to see these characters that get low HP eliminated more quickly and decisively by Kasa. We are going to see Sunnyside pick up one on Juno, but Temp trading it back on a Red X. The Kiriko's down on both sides, and it's going to be a cleanup for Extinction here, one after another.
Yeah, actually keeping themselves alive, even getting a kill. That's actually outrageous from them to get that kill at all in the state that they were in. But the push forward comes out, and that is a lot of early distance that they don't have long to cover either. So they're going to have to try and get back in here as soon as possible. It might already be done. Honestly, this is happening very quickly. This is getting out of control very quickly. And even just a slight staggering means that they're going to have to jump in. Someone's going to have to give up a lot of HP. And that looks like Axia is doing that. And already it's gone. They don't even get the chance to have another fight. Extinction with a 3-1 victory. And this might be a bit of a jinx map for Kasa. as this is the second time in just as many series that they've been pretty much full held on this map. But let's not take anything away from Extinction here. They played very well. Great use of their ultimate. Some really spicy picks to throw in the mix. And looking confident with their 3-1 victory.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we both predicted 3-1. It just went the other way, unfortunately. I think there's definitely a lot of things for Kasa to take away from this week and work on going forward. Specifically, being quicker to make adjustments to scenarios that they're not commonly seen. That first game, they took way too long from what we were seeing to swap into something more comfortable and stable. They weren't really sure how to deal with what they were seeing from Extinction. And rather than try to, adjust it one by one, maybe just very quickly getting themselves into what they're comfortable with in order to secure one of the rounds, and then they can look at making adjustments into that would work out better for them. But they know that there's going to be things to work on, specifically Shambali Monastery. That's probably one that they're going to want to practice a lot, since they have now in back-to-back matchups been held at that corner. So that's definitely something they're going to want to practice and look at, and address, like, what is it that holds them up there, what is it that makes it difficult for them to get around that corner,
what are they struggling with.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think it is very we should say it is very easy in hindsight for us to sit here, and because we can see the whole picture, we can see the whole map, and I'm sure you guys know as well as we do, when you're in the game, sometimes you're not able to get the read in the same way. But these are all very experienced players, and let's not forget that there's been a lot of change for Kasa. So not just a change to their players, but also a change to their management as well. So there may be some kind of teething problems while they learn how each other wants to communicate and play. So let's not take anything away from Kasa. I think they still showed up with a very good showing. Taking that map away, some good adaptation. They just need to shore up a couple of small bits. And I think particularly allowing these first pickoffs to happen pretty consistently is hurting them a lot. And this is maybe just the way that the cookie crumbles right now in the meta, with picks like the Sojan being so strong. But that is going to be us for today. It is a 3-1 victory going the way of Extinction. For today, we're going to be back on Wednesday for the next series, where hopefully we can see if Kasa can shore up these things and show us what they've been working on.
Going up against Boop Troop.
Yes, Boop Troop. Have you got any final words you want to say, Zav? A big shout out to yourself as well, and where people can find you.
They can just find me at Zav on the socials. And we are going to be back Wednesday, looking to see what kind of adjustments Kasa makes, and it's going to be interesting to see what some of these other teams play. Today was the first time we saw a real shakeup from another team. Usually we see a lot of the same consistent champions played, heroes played by both sides, but today was definitely a shakeup for Kasa, and it'll be interesting to see if other teams going forward do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can find me at Simply Nickish on all socials. So thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the games, and we will see you again on Wednesday for those of you in the US, Thursday morning for those of you in the EU. See you then.